Welcome to Metaphysical Soul Speak. I'm your host, Elena Fox Starks. Hey guys, I hope that whenever or wherever you are when you hear this recording, that you find yourself in a space of grace. You're feeling happy and joyous, and if you're not, you know why, and you're healing yourself. I hope that no matter what's going on, that you always remember to love yourself and breathe. Don't forget to breathe. It's kind of important, says the asthmatic. Okay. I was already pretty well into the introduction when a couple of men came up and they started screaming really loud a string of obscenities in Spanish. Like literally they were saying life's a bitch and then you go F yourself. Oh my God. So I was like, what's going on out there? And like they kept repeating it and it sounded like they were fighting. And I just looked and they were drunk as hell, stumbling all over, trying to get to the ATM, which is in front of my building. And one of them was wearing a firefighter outfit, so it was like he didn't go home and change after school. It's like the firefighter, not firefighter. Don't ever do that, by the way. It's very, very dangerous. Okay. Anyway, he was in the firefighter uniform that they have to wear when they go to school to learn how to be firefighters, and there's a school like right around the corner or something, or maybe a block or two from here. So anyway, it was like pretty crazy. Like, what is going on outside? Which is hilarious because, I mean, we are at Ascension Symptoms Scale 97. So lots of emotions are still coming out just like that. And you know, it is what it is. I mean, at least around here, at least in my immediate household, things were quite a bit lighter and brighter than they have been for the past week. The sun was out. Oh my God, it was so bright. Like, I opened up my curtains in my bedroom this afternoon around 1, and the light was so bright outside, it flooded my entire apartment. I kept my bedroom door open, and the hallway, it looked like I had all of the lights in the house on, and all the light bulbs were brand new. But all the light bulbs were off. The sunlight was so bright today, I could not believe it. But we had had rain for about a week. It was washing out the roads. There were some bridges that were out. I mean, it was a big deal here. It was raining and raining and raining. And a few days ago, it was hailing and hailing and hailing. And we're finally not completely frozen. My kid says to me, Mom, I need another coat. He has like 6 coats. It's like, I have a $20 sweater I bought 3.5 years ago in Lima, Peru. And my kid's like, I'm freezing. I need a coat. I'm like, oh my God. But he's very skinny. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go and I'll give money for a coat. Okay. And he comes back with this amazing coat. He said he went to 15 stores, every coat store in Cuenca that specializes in winter coats. And he found this really, really thin coat, but the material was amazing. So it's like some kind of space age thing. And he was so happy. He came home. He's like, look at this coat. I can't believe it. It was only $60. I'm like, oh my God. I give you $20 for your coat and $60 to get your BC Moto out of the shop. And he's like, yeah, well, he's not done fixing it yet. So anyway, I'm like, oh my God, there goes that money. But it's hilarious. Like the one day that the temperature was 10 degrees more than it's been every day for like 2 whole weeks is the day he finally found this really awesome coat. At least he won't be cold. It is a really good coat. I'm going to go right ahead and jump on into the Schumann Resonance, because my little phone from which I read things from is, well, the battery's going to die if I don't. So I've been trying to charge it for like an hour, and it's going too slow. At 8:30 a.m. UTC time in Italy, the scientists write, once again, the pattern is confirmed. Even today, moderate activity, but higher than yesterday. The amplitude variations had a break from 15 to 21 UTC yesterday, and then started again with low values until 4:30 a.m. UTC today, when they increased to reach what is now the maximum at 46 hertz, followed by 2 other significant peaks at a short distance at 40 and 28 hertz. So the evening report, they had a better picture of what had gone on, and they write at 1700 UTC. Today's most significant activity was concentrated in 5 hours from 4:30 to 9:30 UTC. During this period, there were 5 significant peaks, the highest of which was at 46 hertz. The others were respectively 40, 28, 36, and 33 hertz at about an hour from each other. Do you guys hear the daily alarm? Yeah. That car alarm literally every day at the same frickin' time goes off. Like seriously, it's just like, can you shoot a car alarm and not hurt the car? Okay, I can't shoot anything. I don't have a gun. I have to get an old-fashioned twig and a rubber band and a rock. I don't know. You can't do that. Finally, he turns it off. It's like so ridiculous. Every night, it's like the nightly alarm. Oh, is it 12:40 already? All right. And on with the one thing that would make us feel like totally uncommitted and unattached to like outward things. In A Course in Miracles, we're up to lesson 17, and this is related to yesterday's idea. I have no neutral thoughts was yesterday's idea. Today's idea is I see no neutral things. So basically, if you want to read the whole lesson and do the lessons proper, so I suggest highly go to acourseinmiracles.org, or I mean acim.org. It stands for A Course in Miracles. It's well worth it, but I like the high vibrational nature of these lessons. So when I read them, it helps me to keep in integrity with myself. And you guys might get something out of it too, right? I get something out of it every time, even though I've already done these lessons. So I see no neutral things. And so today you'll say, I see no neutral things because I have no neutral thoughts. I do not see a neutral blank because my thoughts about blank are not neutral. So for an example, you would say, I do not see a neutral wall because my thoughts about walls are not neutral. I do not see a neutral purse because my thoughts about purses are not neutral. I do not see a neutral, I don't even know what. I do not see a neutral body because my thoughts about bodies are not neutral. I do not see a neutral hammer because my thoughts about hammers are not neutral. Whatever it is that you see and whatever it is that you think, that's pretty much the idea for the day. I think I already said that we're at 97 on the Ascension Symptoms Scale. It is one down from, the past day. But yeah, still some stuff. I do feel better overall. the tinnitus, but I had a lot more energy than I did yesterday. Maybe I had just rested up. Oh, yeah, that's the thing I wanted to say. So yesterday, after I finished my show, my friends from Andromeda came from the Andromeda Galaxy. They stayed here with me for a while, and then 4 of them left, and the one who I had had a deep friendship, lots of love and romantic times with, even though we hadn't really had a relationship. We had become very good friends, and he stayed with me for a while, and he asked if I'd like to go to the Andromeda Galaxy with him and live out another 20 years over the next 5 hours. I said, well, yeah, let's go. I mean, I was just going to sleep anyway. I might as well leave my body behind and go live in Andromeda for 20 more years. And so I did. And I woke up completely refreshed. I felt like I had been gone somewhere and had a very long, beautiful, delightful rest. I believe I probably maybe married him in Andromeda. I remember before I fell asleep, I asked him if I would be able to marry him, but then also still marry somebody in this body on this planet. And he said, yeah, you can actually have many husbands and many, I guess many legal marriages on many different planets, and they don't affect each other because they're also in different dimensions. And then I started thinking about it. When I woke up in the morning, I was thinking about this, and I started asking my higher guidance. And apparently I'm married right now to 4 different people in 4 different, timelines or dimensions, I guess. Obviously right now in this body, in the 5th dimension on Earth, I am single and I'm waiting for my twin flame. And I asked my higher guidance further, do we have twin flames on other planets and in other dimensions besides here? The answer was no. You only have one. In all the galaxies, all the universes, all the everything, you only have one twin flame. That's it. I mean, thousands of soulmates, obviously. How else could I have 4 husbands? But it was like a really strange question that came up this morning. And I was like, okay. So I think I had like I can only call it future life memory that my plan was to do with my best friend. His name is Jihad. He's from Saudi Arabia. And I met him, oh gosh, was it in 2011 I met him. And man, this friendship with him is crazy. Like, we are like best friends in heaven, right? So when we met, it was just like, literally the day I met him, he ran as fast as he could. He saw me, and I was staying in one of his friend's house, and in Muhammad's house, and he comes running as fast as he could in, and he threw his arms around me, and he hugged me so hard, and then he sat right next to me, and he put his arm wrapped around my arm, and he looked around and he goes, I want to show you pictures of my wife, but my friends aren't allowed to see her face, and I can't talk to anyone about her, but with you, you're a woman, I can. I'm like, okay. And then every day for like 6 months, we always hugged hello and we hugged goodbye. And many times we would sit and just hold hands and while we're smoking hookah or eating dinner together with all of our friends in a circle. And, and I got to know very much about the Arab culture. And I really loved it. These men were like so sweet and so loving and so respectful. And I've never been treated so well in all my life by any men ever, except for these Shia Muslims from the eastern part of Saudi Arabia, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And they're mostly from the city of Tarout. And then there's a couple that were from north of there, like an hour north of there. So 6 months into our really deep and amazing and loving friendship, he says to me, "Oh, I forgot to tell you something. Alina, I am not allowed, or I'm not supposed to. Okay, I'm not allowed in my culture to actually talk to any women, and I'm not allowed to touch you. And every day you hug me, and I'm not sad about that. I just have to let you know it's not in my culture to do that." I'm like, oh my God, since the day I met, you hugged me first. He goes, "Yeah, it's true. I know." And he told me that. I was like, oh my God, I would have respected your culture. I would never have hugged you ever, not once, if I had known. But, in my culture, at least, my family and how I grew up, I mean, you see people and then you love and you hug them. It's normal to want to hold hands or hug your friends, or, I'm just an affectionate person. And he was like, "It's okay. I don't want to hurt your feelings." I'm like, well, I'm not going to break your culture. Like, it's up to you. And, should we even be friends? He's like, "Yes, of course." I'm like, okay, great. And after that, we ended up having just a really intense, loving, beautiful friendship. He's like, now we don't talk because he's fully married. He wasn't really married before. Now after his marriage, and his wife is extremely immature and young and jealous. And, so she, spread some lies throughout his family, and then his dad's like, don't talk to her anymore. So it's like really sad. So every now and again, he'll like something of mine on Facebook or Instagram, and he won't ever respond to any of my emails or anything anymore. It's very, very sad. It's like, he knows the truth about me, that all the rumors were lies, but it just ended up being a big thing. Anyway, in spite of all that, I love his brothers. I mean, I met most of his family in person, and great person, but I was shown that we were going to have a life together, that we're going to be married, and he and I are going to stop a civil war on another planet. Pretty interesting, right? So I found out today, my higher guidance said, well, that's like another life you're simultaneously living. Well, back when I met him in 2011 and I had this vision, I wasn't able yet to handle the fact that I am living many, many, many lifetimes at once. So now that I know, and I've been becoming more and more aware. So that's one. I'm married to him on another life. That makes so much sense. Why would he come running over to me and just throw his arms around me? Because it's just one soul recognizes another, especially when it's married on another planet at the same time. I always told him, if you decide to back out of the marriage, I'm going to be in South America. You could come visit me, because he was born in the United States. He's actually American. And, but he was raised in Saudi Arabia, so he's like a dual citizen. And so I'm like, if you ever want to get out of that. But now he has children and he's super happy, and he opened up a workshop. He does auto repair, and he has like a degree in mechanical engineering. He's extremely intelligent. One of the smartest people I've ever met in my life. So I know he'll never in a million years listen to this, but I love him with all my heart. He's a good person. So never in a million years would cheat on his wife, though, ever. And she kind of thought, she got mad because he touched my coat sleeve for like half a second. Like, oh my God, it's like I've given this guy massages, you know what I mean? I gave him a massage when his back was hurting and he was crippled and he couldn't walk. I mean, we're like super close, but nothing ever happened because I respect their relationship and always did. I'm a person of integrity. But I guess there's different levels of different everything, and like nothing, you can have no neutral thoughts, and you could see nothing that's neutral, and it's just kind of weird. But so I found out about that, and then I have my lizard husband. Now I've got this in Orion. I have a lizard husband in the Andromedas. Now I have a brand new husband. And I don't know who the fourth person I'm married to. I honestly don't know. But apparently I have 4 husbands throughout the galaxy. I'm starting to feel like a little bit like a galactic hussy. It's so weird. Oh my God. It's like I've been unmarried now for like 9 years. And out of the 9 years, I think 5 or 6, I've been completely single, not seeing anybody, not dating, not, backward, back alley freaking one-night stands, like nothing. I haven't done anything, not even kissing, nothing, for about 5 years out of those 9. I've just been busy with my kids and traveling and writing. And so now I find out I've had 4 husbands all along. Now 3 before, and last night over the past 20 years, in the past 24 hours, I've lived 20 years on another planet in another dimension. And anyway, it's like a vacation. I mean, if you guys are interested, you could just call them through telepathy and tell them to come get you. And they set up a house for me right away. It was really awesome. I don't know. My life is absolutely crazy. Speaking of crazy, on on Twitter last night when I was finished with the show, I found this thing that someone had put. It was like a homemade meme sort of thing. I guess all memes are homemade. Why did I say homemade? Anyway, scratch that I said that. It says, put your finger, any one of your fingers, to your third eye, to your forehead, and say this word. Now, I know at least one of you told me in a private message that you are commuting to work every day while listening to my show. You download it and commute to work. So you might want to hold off on doing this until you get to work, just in case. Because the thing I'm about to say, the rest of you, if you're not in a car, you're not, operating a moving vehicle, if you're not flying a plane right now, and you're not driving a car or a tractor or even a bicycle, you can do this one. Okay. You'll put your finger to your forehead. I would suggest the third eye specifically. And you're supposed to say these 3 syllables. And you say it with complete intent and concentration. So I'm going to do it right now. My fingers on my third eye. Ki asha, ki asha, ki asha. And then you take your finger away and okay. It's like the 4th time I've done this, and every time it's like really intense. It opens up your third eye in a really intense way. I did this last night, and then I thought, oh my God, what was I just saying? What is this language? What does this mean? What does it do? My head started pulsating. It's a little pulsating right now. And when this happened, I started realizing I'm connecting with all kinds of ETs. And it's like pretty intense. So I asked the person who put the meme up, I said, so Is this welcome to the weird Kiosk Shaw Society? Your packet will be in the mail soon? Because, whoa, I am suddenly connected to ETs and I feel it. I think I'm connected to the star grid. In fact, right after I did this, some guy named Jeff started talking to me randomly. I'm like, are you dead? And he's all, no. I'm like, oh, okay, good. I'm sorry. I work with a lot of ghosts and I couldn't tell. I just kind of see in my mind's eye, though. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm just hanging out here. I'm like, wait a minute. Are you on the star grid? And he said, yeah. How did you know? And I'm like, well, I just did this Kiosk Shaw thing. And I think it had connected me to the star grid, which is the star grid that you connect to through your star chakra, your 8th chakra, 18 inches above your head. These are the words you can use to get there. Who knew? I didn't until after I said it, and I thought, oh my God, what did I just do? Put a giant target on my head so ETs could come. So it took this person about 24 hours to get back to me, and actually it was like 2 nights ago, and I did this. I forgot to mention it yesterday. So it's 2 nights ago. And I felt all the ET energy. In fact, the Andromedans came to me the day after I did this. So I'm like, oh, so it is a way to telepath and see more clairvoyantly and be more psychic, and your intuition will increase. So it's pretty cool. So I was curious. I asked her, and it took like 24 hours. And finally this morning she says, okay, so this is the thing. This is kind of like a light language, but it's definitely Pleiadian, and it's meant to increase your intuition. It's very, very good for you. It opens up your third eye. It's been used for thousands and thousands of years, not only here on Earth, people that have connection to the Pleiadians, but also the Pleiadians have been using this for millennia, and throughout many galaxies, this is well known, I guess. All right. It's pretty cool, guys. We're actually, we're on the verge of a galactic federation. I mean, for real, like, straight up Star Trek. Yay! I always wanted the world to be like this. I always wanted to just, walk into, like Deep Space Nine and be all, hey, what quadrant are you from? I mean, I'm not going to go gambling with any Ferengi anytime soon, but it'd be interesting to meet people from all over the universe, don't you think? I mean, I'm almost ready for that. I mean, if they walked into my house like in 2 seconds, I might not be 100% ready. But I've been in touch with Orions and Lyrans, Andromedans, Arcturians, and I don't even know where they're from, the gray guys that have been abducting me my whole life. They just abducted me again like a week ago. I think they put my twin flame and I in the same room. I think that they got us together. I think I got kind of hooked up with my twin like about a week or so ago. I wonder if he was aware of it. I wonder if he woke up like, what the hell? I went to bed alone, and now I just feel like I don't know why they do that. It's really strange. It's like, come on, leave me alone. Like, I'm going to do it in my own time. Speaking of galactic hussies, God, forcing me into that situation, it's so weird. But I'm not abducted as much as I used to be, but it did happen about a week ago. Anyway, guys, I am going to teach you, if you don't know, and if you do know, it's going to be a primer. It's going to be kind of a, quick little reminders, I suppose. But I'm going to teach you guys how to read tarot cards tonight. Going to tell you a little bit about the tarot cards if you don't know. If, afterwards you say, well, I didn't know, now I know. But I'm just going to go over what the suits mean tonight. I'm not going to go over each individual number. And I'm not going to go over each individual major arcana. I mean, the tarot is huge. It's huge. It's just too much to do it all in one night. I just can't do it. I mean, unless you guys want a 5-hour episode, which I'm sure if your morning commute is 5 hours, A, I feel sorry for you. B, you should get another job. Oh, I mean, it's like dangerous. So I know, people's morning commutes are anywhere from an hour to 2 hours. I mean, if you're in LA, it could take up to 3 hours just to go 10 miles. I know. It's just, been there, done that. I used to work in a pretty gnarly area of Los Angeles, and I worked in a group home. And I ended up working the night shift to avoid the traffic. The caveat to that is every night when I drove home, I saw a different random act of violence almost every day. One of them, I saw one guy running down the street with a gun in his hand, and a guy in front of him was running down the street. And I couldn't tell if one was chasing the other one. And then I realized they were gang members in a gang, because then I turned my head and then kind of kitty corner from where I was waiting for the red light to change. There was cops with all these gang members up against the wall, and they were patting them down, and they were arresting people left and right, and these guys were like, I'm out of here, and they're running so fast. I was like, oh my gosh. That was actually the mildest night, to be honest. I saw some pretty bad stuff, which I'm not going to mention. It's just too crazy. And besides the fact that, what I see doesn't mean anything. But, yeah, I don't know. It is what it is. So, all right, I'm going to take a quick break. Go get your notebooks. If you don't know anything about the tarot, I'm going to give you some basics on just the suits tonight. And maybe next week, maybe I'll do this every Tuesday for a while until we're done with the tarot. That might be how I'm going to do this. And you can just take notes. And then I'm going to teach you also, I'm going to talk a little bit about what it is that I do when I do a reading, mostly. How I use my intuition. The Ki Asha should help you with your intuition while reading the tarot cards, which is why I made it a point to mention this this crazy phrase tonight, because if your third eye isn't pulsating, you have to concentrate a little bit more, but it's pretty intense. And I think maybe the more you do it, the more intense it gets, so we'll see. All right, so let's take a break, and when I come back, how to read tarot. If you're listening to this, you obviously like podcasts, and you probably like music too. Long walks on the beach, romantic dancing under the stars, and oh wait, we're not doing that right now. On Spotify, you can listen to all of that in one place for free, and you don't even need a premium account, which is cool. Free is always good. Spotify has a huge catalog of podcasts on every topic, including the one you're listening to right now. On Spotify, you can follow your favorite podcasts so you never miss an episode. Download episodes to listen to offline wherever you are, including your long romantic walks on the beach. Also, one thing I love about Spotify is that you can easily share what you're listening to with your friends via Spotify's integrations with the social platforms like Instagram. So that makes it really, really versatile. Just search for Metaphysical Soul Speak on the Spotify app or browse podcasts in the Your Library tab. And follow me, of course, don't forget, so that you'll never again miss an episode of Metaphysical Soul Speak. Spotify is the world's leading music streaming service, and now it can be your go-to 4 podcasts too. Thank you guys so much for supporting Metaphysical Soul Speak on Spotify. All right, guys, in this episode, I'm going to only talk about the suits, the 4 suits in the tarot, and pretty much what they mean, what they relate to. If you get it in a reading, what is it going to kind of entail, or what it kind of points to. But first, we're going to go over a tiny bit of history. And what I'm going to tell you is not really found anywhere on the internet. But I can tell you what was on the internet, and then plus what I learned when I went to a mystery school. Again, it's from memory. I don't have those notebooks with me directly, nor do I have the lessons with me. But I'm going to also tell you where you can go find this information out for yourself if you wanted to really study with a mystery school. I'm going to tell you about that in a second. So basically what I found on the internet is that basically tarot cards came on the scene in Europe in 1440, and no one really understands or knows what quite happened there, where they come from. There's always conflictual information on this. Some of it is speculation. Also, though, before that time, I believe I read in the 9th century, China had playing cards. And so a lot of people think that the 2 decks kind of merged together and then kind of somehow merged apart. And there's a lot of confusion surrounding it. It seems to me they would be easy, that there would be a system of counting with the cards and maybe a way to make games. And obviously 1 through 10 seems, normal. And I don't know. I don't want to speculate on the Chinese version of this, but I'm going to tell you guys what I was taught by builders of the Adytum. If you haven't heard me mention this before, I have mentioned it before, but if you're new to the show, Adytum means the temple not built with hands. Basically, it's the idea that you're going to build your spirituality in order to grow and mature as a spiritual being, in order to get to the point where you can actually ascend. Not just during the past couple years ascension, but I mean, this has been a thing since before Jesus, obviously. He was someone who ascended famously. Everybody knows the ascension. Usually when you hear the word ascension, if you grew up, especially like I did in Catholic territory, I was kind of forced to be a Catholic till I was 8, and I told off Cardinal Mahoney when I was really little. I didn't know I'd be protesting later in the LGBTQIA community, so it kind of worked out. But he told me to kiss his ring, and I said, "Ew, I don't know where your fat hands have been." I'm not going to kiss your ring, your hand, or anything about you, sucker. And my aunt, who was a Carmelite nun, was like, "Oh, it's time for someone's nap now. Let's go." I'm all, yeah, whatever. And I pretty much decided I'm not going to be Catholic after that. My dad gave me a choice. He was excommunicated for marrying and divorcing and remarrying, and so I just said, I'm not going to participate in a church that can randomly and arbitrarily tell my father he can't worship God or communicate with other people that he's known his whole life, because his relationship fell apart and he got a new love. It seemed really stupid to me. So I pretty much converted as many kids to Lutheranism as possible before the nuns separated me out. from the other children, and I got into a lot of trouble with the Catholic Church when I was 8. So, anyway, enough about that. But I grew up around playing cards, and they were just playing cards, and I didn't know anything about tarot. Maybe I learned about tarot when I was 18, actually. Yeah, that's actually the first time I ever heard of it. I was 18. I was an adult. I was in my first semester at university. And I learned how to read tarot, and I had an experience where the first deck someone gave me, his father had given him, and he didn't like it. He didn't feel connected to it, but I thought it was lovely. It was the Marseille deck from France, and I was pretty much really thrilled about it. I could not wait to just get into this and learn it and be really good at it. And I went to a reader, Lily Francis was her name. She changed her name to Lily Francis to name herself after St. Francis, a saint she felt very close to. And if you haven't heard my St. Francis episode, if you're new, please go back and listen to it. He was a true saint, not just a random arbitrary person made a saint by the Catholic Church, but somebody who displayed every bit of evidence that he was an ascended master, which is what the Ascension, is about for everybody. And that's why the tarot was created in the first place, was Ascension. To build your personality in a correct and right way so that your spirit can fly to where it needs to be, and you can be one with your God self or your higher self. And the tarot itself was written as a book of personality, developing your personality in a correct way. So basically, in my experience with this, my first experience was my boyfriend and I got our cards home, and we saged them, and we smudged them, we put them in order, we did all the things you're supposed to do, we knocked on them 3 times, and when you do that, it's supposed to knock out any negative energy or past old icky stagnant energy, anything that might have attached itself to the cards. So we did all that, and he shuffled them, and I had to separate them, and then he pulled the first 3 cards, and one of the cards was death, and he looked at me and he went, "Oh my God, your best friend's gonna die." I'm like, "That's not what the cards say, And he's like, "But it's a death card." I'm like, "That doesn't mean literally, it means transformation." At least I knew that very little bit. And he just looked at me and he goes, "I'm serious." And he looked me in the eye, and I knew it. And a week later, my best friend, who he didn't even know her name, he didn't know anything about her, not who she was, not her name, not where she lived, nothing. Okay, so don't think the wrong thing here, but she was found stabbed 32 times while she slept in her bed, and she was my best friend in high school. We were supposed to have lunch that day, and she didn't call me. I'm like, "Why isn't she calling me?" And I kept calling her house, and she wasn't calling me. Well, she was dead. She couldn't call me. And after 2 hours of waiting for her, my brother called me, and he said that they had just announced in the school, because we grew up in a very tiny town and everybody knew everybody, that she had been the one that had died. So yeah, that was like literally my very first experience of tarot. Not happy, not cheerful. We freaked out. I think we gave the cards back to our friend. We just said, "We don't want any part of this. This is no. And we went on our merry way and had a relationship for 6 years. And when he left me for my best friend, that's when I was like, I need a distraction from the pain. So I actually went and I bought Tarot of the Cat People, which you cannot get 2 decks completely separate and different from each other than the Tarot of Marseille and the Tarot of the Cat People. The Cat People were this person made up this insane art of, well, they were like Lyrans, actually, but now looking back, but they're people that had cat heads, and they were very luxurious, and they wore cat fur coats of other cats that had died of natural causes. It was like this weird backstory, and it was just like, that was my first deck of tarot that I purchased for myself, and no one else had ever touched it. In my whole time of ever having my cards, no one ever touched them. And I put them in storage and lost my storage, so now someone else is touching my cards, but they're not mine anymore. So the only card deck I have now is Tarot of the Andes. It's a very strange deck, but I bought it in Lima in a witch market, which again, if you have not heard all of my episodes and you're new to the show, you might want to go listen to my really crazy experience of actually going into what is the equivalent of Diagon Alley of Harry Potter in Lima, Peru. There is a whole section of the city that's all about magic, good magic, bad magic, white, black, whatever you want to call it, all manner of magic, folk magic, just everything. It was a very bizarre experience, and I did buy my tarot cards there because I was missing my tarot cards, and I knew that my other ones had been stolen from my storage. It's a whole long story. I'm writing a book about it, but anyway, so getting back to this, the book, the tarot cards were literally originally called the Book of the Tarot. And tarot, when it's spelled backwards, or actually rearranged, when you rearrange the letters, it means rota, R-O-T-A, which is Latin for wheel, and it means like a wheel that turns. Just like the Wheel of Fortune is a card in which the wheel is turning, and it means the wheel of life. It means cycle of birth and death and reincarnation. And if we learn how to develop our personality in such a way that we can escape the karma. So this is a westernized version of what Kriya Yoga in the East teaches. I've also studied Kriya Yoga in the East, and I've been in 2 different mystery schools I've studied with. Now, a lot of you have heard of Aleister Crowley. His deck has a lot of strange energy to it, not something that I've ever enjoyed. In fact, I was in a room with a Crowley deck once, the lady who taught me Reiki, the first level of Reiki. And she really loved her Crowley deck, actually. And I was sitting there in her room, and I was just like, I kept looking over towards her little bookshelf, like 2 rooms away. And she's like, what are you looking at? I go, there is such a bizarre energy. And she's like, really? What do you feel? I'm like, you know what? This energy in your house is really weird. And I walked over to it. She goes, oh, you mean the Crowley deck? Her father had been a 32nd degree Mason, and that was his tarot deck. And she was only barely getting started in learning how to read tarot. And so she had just gotten it out, and she had just started playing with it. And so the energy in the deck itself was activated. And I'm like, you know what? Your dad might have been a great guy, but I don't like the energy of the Crowley deck. I just don't. It gives me a really weird, really creepy, almost evil feeling. And Crowley himself was very intelligent, wrote a lot of books, and he was a sorcerer, magician, diviner, everything. But he had a mystery school, and his mystery school was Order of the Golden Dawn. And it was a very good, very well-informed, high vibrational school, but he got involved with drugs. He had an addiction, I believe it was to heroin. His doctor prescribed it to him, saying it would help his asthma. Yeah, well, it didn't help his asthma. He got terribly addicted, and I think he started working with demons and a whole bunch of things. And Paul Foster Case was part of the Mystery School, Order of the Golden Dawn, and his higher guidance said you need to get away from Aleister Crowley. And so Paul Foster Case started the Order of the got away from the Order of the Golden Dawn, so sorry, and he started the Builders of the Adytum. And he was further instructed by his higher guidance, his spiritual team, told him, you're going to have to redo the deck. You're going to have to go back to the Rider-Waite deck, which is the closest to the original that you can possibly get. And you're going to have to redo it, and we're going to have to update some stuff. So he worked through telepathy and clairvoyance and all manner of things, and he created the deck that the Builders of the Adytum puts out. It's very, very, very similar. There's only a couple things that are different from the Rider-Waite deck. And the Rider-Waite deck was only a couple things different from the original tarot that was ever created. And the original Rider-Waite, at least, had, for example, when the Fool is setting off on his journey, the dog is biting his heel, nipping at his heel. And in the Paul Foster Case version, the dog is a faithful and loyal companion and not at all biting him. So there were some very subtle differences like that. And if you get into it, you want to get into it, and you want to study this, it's like a 20-year program. I only was into it for like 5 years. And I'll get back to it someday. I will. I'm not there yet. I have to have permanent residency here before I can start getting the lessons and stuff. But, and starting over again. But the lessons are about, I think, $12, or maybe they might be up to $15 now per month. Not very expensive at all. And they're very, very extensive. You're going to do a lot of reading, a lot of studying, a lot of coloring your own deck to give it its own energy and its own meaning. And you could color it. They teach you how to color it, but you can make the colors super dark, super bright, super pale. You know, it's really a wonderful program, and it helps you in a wide variety of ways. It makes you see connections and symbols that you never would have seen before. So basically what I learned in these lessons, and you're not allowed to discuss or read from or print or give out, but I'm giving this to you from my memory. This is my experience. So it's not really against the rules to talk about that in particular. I can't just like read directly from the lessons, which they were in storage, unfortunately. Somebody got them. Some old blokes stole my stuff, and they now have access to a mystery school that they probably didn't earn the right to be in. You have to apply, and they have to meditate and see if you're ready spiritually to accept the lessons and actually be serious about it. And they do turn people away. But if you're listening to this, chances are they're not going to ever turn you away, because you're already spiritually minded enough that you're going to be like, all right, cool. So what I was told, and what I remember at least, is that the first tarot cards in the world were created by the artwork and everything, and the ideas of it were created by a group of men that were all ascended masters. They weren't ascended out of this world, but they were still in this world. But they were spiritual masters. They were enlightened beings. They were the spiritual version of the G6 or G8, whatever, G5 summit, where the world leaders get together and decide what wars will be fought, and, all the negative, evil cabal people. Well, there's actually the equivalent of that in good. There are spiritual masters that do convene once every, I don't know, I can't remember now, once every 100 years, every decade, every whatever. And they decide what needs to be done in the world, basically to counteract the cabal. So They gathered in Fez, Morocco. They sat around a table and they discussed this, and they said, if we took this idea and put it into card form and we made a book of the tarot, this is like the book of every human life there is. This is all the things that we all go through. Let's create it. So they did. And it became very popular in Europe in 1440. And they created 78 cards. We have the major arcana and the minor arcana. In the major arcana, it's 0 through 21, the Fool through the universe. Those are the major arcana cards. And they don't, even though they all have correspondences, which we're not going to begin to get into yet, but they are like the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, the Empress, the Emperor, and the rest. And then we have the minor arcana. And in the minor arcana, there are 56 cards. Now, playing cards, whether they're developed from just Chinese games or, the Chinese version, or from this, if you look at the ones that were developed from this, and all of the information on this is a little bit erroneous. In regular playing cards, what we have is 52 cards, not 56. And what's missing is we don't have pages. We have knights and kings and queens, but we don't have pages in a normal deck of playing cards. Now, we also have the jokers in the normal deck of playing cards, which relates to the Fool. And that's usually like a wild card. Is added in 1850s by the playing, I don't know if it's Hoyle or I can't remember which playing card company in the United States added the jokers, but that became a thing. So, like I said, it's all kind of jumbled up. All right. So in the regular playing cards, we have 52, and we're missing the 4 pages. Pages usually mean messengers, but we're not going to get into all of that today. We're just going to get into the basics of each individual suit. So just like in a normal playing cards deck, we have the clubs, diamonds, spades, and hearts. And I'm going to tell you what all that relates to in the Holy Tarot. And I call it the Holy Tarot because it was meant to be representative of every man, every person, man, woman, child, every person on earth. It represents everything we go through. When we are still spirit in heaven, we are the Fool. When we first come down to earth, we are a virgin. The High Priestess is a virgin. She has on her lap a scroll in which all of our memories and experiences and thoughts and deeds, words and actions are recorded, our Akashic records. We go to the Magician card, and that is when we learn to be creative. we learn, well, that's actually before the High Priestess card, but we learn how to create in the world. Our will is starting to develop, and it goes on through that. So everything that the tarot is the original tarot. The Rider-Waite is pretty close. You could get a Rider-Waite deck and be pretty darn close to the reality of the original. Paul Foster Cases is more accurate, but it's only, like I said, just a couple things. So BOTA.org, before I forget, BOTA.org, BOTA, Builders of the Adytum.org, in case you do want to get into this. At the end, when you finish all the lessons, it takes like about 20 years, they will literally give you a PhD in metaphysics. And my God, you will have earned it. I know 2 people that have earned this. And one of them was Grandma Marion, and I did her stories every Saturday for a couple months. So if you want to go back and look at the Grandma Marion stories about the teddy bears being alive, the car being alive, the haunted granny doll story. And then every 7 episodes before that or in front of that, you'll see all the Grandma Marion stories. But she studied with builders of the Adytum, and also as well as Brotherhood of the White Temple, as well as the Self-Realization Fellowship. So actually, I kind of did study a little tiny bit with the builders of the Brotherhood of the White Temple as well. That'd be my third mystery school, but I didn't really do all of the lessons, only like 2, so I don't really count it. But I went through some of the lessons that Marion herself had rearranged and edited because she was put in charge of that mystery school. So anyway, let's get into this because this is exciting, you guys. You're going to learn how to do this, and it's really fun. So the minor arcana has 4 basic groupings or suits, just like the regular deck of playing cards. And in each suit, you have 14 cards to make 56. So, I did write down, I did want to say about the Rider-Waite deck, it is accurate for spiritual growth purposes, for meditation and whatnot. If you want to just set out on your own for a while, because the tarot cards were not invented to divine your future, and that's called divination or cartomancy. And that got very popular in the 16th century, and it's pretty much been popular ever since, foretelling the future. In Builders of the Adytum, they do not teach you how to tell the future. The original purpose of it was literally to develop the personality. I wanted to get that clear, that what I'm going to tell you is cartomancy, divination, how to discuss or figure out with the universe what's going on in your life. Usually when I do a reading for anybody or myself, I usually tend to focus on what is going on, what has gone on before, and only a tiny part of a reading that I do will be about the future or about outcomes. Like if I do a 10-card spread called the Celtic Cross, only 2 of them out of 10 have anything to do with the future. And the future is never built in stone. It's never set in stone. You can change it. So you can't, and so like I do like what's happening potentially in the next 3 months and potentially in the next 6 months. And that's it. That's it. I have 1 card that I read in the Celtic Cross that's kind of maybe what might be going on the next 1 or 2 weeks. Potentially 3 weeks. But that's it. 3 cards out of 10. The rest are all about what has gone on before, what's going on now, what's internally part of you right this moment. So, but mostly the Holy Tarot is not supposed to be meant for divination. I just wanted to get that clear because most people believe it's just a bunch of cards so that we can tell the future. And they're all interesting and weird, and we don't know why they work, but they do. A lot of people don't understand where it came from and why it was made. It was made so that we would have a roadmap of where to go. What I was told is that the playing cards that developed in the Western world from that was developed in a way that we would always have the secrets in plain sight, hidden in plain sight for us, so that when we're ready, it's going to be there again, available. My oldest kid learned about the tarot and learned how to do it with playing cards. So he always has a tarot deck around. You hop a flight somewhere and they hand you a deck of cards if it's a long international flight. They don't do it as much as they used to, but I've still gotten playing cards on flights in the past 6 years. But it's pretty cool. I mean, you know, and you could just sit there and read it like the tarot. At least my oldest kid does. pretty cool. It's pretty cool stuff. Anyway, so we're going to start with the suit of wands. Wands are, if I could describe wands in one word, creativity. They are shown artwork-wise as tree branches, sometimes as torches or lit up sticks, like a bright stick. They are also called, the suit of wands is also called rods, staves, staffs. They are related to the suit in playing cards of clubs. You can remember wands and clubs because a wand is made from wood. If you're a witch and you're going to create a wand, it's going to be from wood. And if you're going to club somebody, because you're a caveman, that will probably also be made from wood. That's how I remember that wands and clubs are both made from wood. It's a really strange way that I remember that. So wands, when you get them in a reading, tend to stand for movement of energy, creativity, invention, innovation, and ideas of an inventive nature, like the engine of creativity sort of energy, entrepreneurial spirit, career, your life purpose. They're also related to the charm and desire that you might have. So if your your reading is about a relationship, it might mean that the person coming your way is very charming and desirable. Maybe he's a businessman or entrepreneur. He kind of forges his own path career-wise. If it's about you in particular in relationship, it might mean that you're very charming and very desirable. The element of fire is represented by wands, and the season of spring is represented by wands. It means also ambition or drive, and it's related even to changes in your life, like if something's going to come and change rapidly, or you're in the process of a major change, you will see wands in your reading. Chi energy also, it relates to just your internal combustion, your power, your kundalini, and your prana or chi or ki energy. Now, the second suit I want to discuss tonight is, I'm going to discuss all four, but the second one we're going to go over is pentacles. Pentacles are, you know what a pentagram is. A pentagram is a 5-pointed star. A pentacle is basically drawn as a 5-pointed star with a circle around it. And if I was going to pick one word, that means what pentacles stand for, material. Pentacles are basically, it's a circle with a star in it. Like I said, a pentagram inside a circle, but it's drawn as a coin. Pentacles are also called coins or discs. They relate to the suit and playing cards of diamonds. Now, when you get pentacles in the reading, it can mean material items, money. It relates to the physical world, success and prosperity on all levels. The season it relates to is winter, and it relates to the element earth. Now, pentacles also doesn't mean just money. It can mean stability in life, practicality, determination to succeed, abundance, and it also could relate to your body. It could be good or bad. It depends. All of these things could be good or bad, depending on your own interpretation, and also according to the number that's related to, and also how it relates in the reading to the other cards that were also drawn. Okay, so it relates to safety. Pentacles relate to safety, security, home and hearth, sometimes family, promotion, or something job related. It could be relating to your health. Maybe it's a warning you need to start taking better care of your health. It could also be related to bills it can show you, sometimes a pentacle card can show you how you're going to pay your bills, where the money's going to come from this month, or it could actually even be related to an inheritance. Next up, we have the Suit of Swords. Now, in a card deck, they literally look like swords. There's no mistaking swords for anything. There are no other names for swords. Swords are swords. So, what the swords relate to in a deck of playing cards are spades. Now, a spade is kind of like a fat sword. It's got a pointy top. It's got a handle at the bottom. That's how you remember what a spade, how that relates to swords. Now, if I were to pick one word that spades stands for, I would have to say that word is ideas. Swords are rational, logical. It's about communication. It's about the mind. Okay. Now with swords, if you get swords in the reading, it's just going to cut through your crap, basically. It cuts through all the junk in your life. But it also shows you where you are in life. Shows where you are imprisoned in life. There are several swords cards where there's one I've seen in some decks where someone is like literally trapped and surrounded by swords, and it's a prison of their own making. You're not imprisoned by other people or situations, although sometimes it can mean that. Especially if you're in an abusive relationship, you'll get that card where you're like surrounded by swords and you're stuck in the middle of it and you can't get out. But usually this is a mental prison that you've created for yourself when you get a negative swords card. It's going to basically show you yourself and where you are stuck, where you're pinning yourself to the ground, as it were, where you're not allowing yourself to move forward in a situation. A lot of times that is represented by swords, okay? A lot of sword cards relate to heartbreak, illness, strife, war, could be meaning bigger war or just war in your household, war amongst yourself, like Fight Club, loss, death, challenge. It can even mean a forceful person, a bully, or a forceful situation, an argument possibly coming up, or an argument that was had already. It could even mean a legal battle, a rigid point of view, or even denial. Swords cut through to the heart of the matter. They help you to see what you were not formerly able to see. So when you get a sword card in a reading, you're going to go, you might get some insights. If you are in denial, it's going to show you what you have been denying, seeing. It'll help you to see. The season of the year in which swords are related is autumn or the fall. They are also related to the air element. So also, by the way, for all of these, you can relate, like Pentacles can relate to Virgo because Virgo is an earth sign. So for example, swords would relate to Libra. So if you're asking in a romantic situation, who is the person going to come in my life, and you are going to divine and use this for cartomancy, it is very, very possible that you can extrapolate the suit that comes up in a reading to mean somebody out of one of those signs. There are 12 signs in astrology, and that means there's 3 signs of each element. So you have to figure out which one, but it kind of narrows it down. When I say wands are fire, so that might mean a Sagittarius is coming your way. Good luck with that one. I'm just kidding. My first husband was a Sagittarius, sweetest guy in the whole wide world, and we got married, and 5 minutes later he's like, thinking to himself, maybe I shouldn't have been married. As much as we loved each other, he was like, and when it didn't work out, he told me that. I was like, see, maybe it all worked out for something. I still love you, but you weren't the one. You were just one of my soulmates. Still love him to this day. If I saw him tomorrow, I'd give him the biggest hug. I'd call him a fathead and give him a big hug. We had my secret nickname for him was Fathead, so it's kind of funny. It's like a joke because he was bald. We always thought the name Fathead was hilarious. So weird. I know it's weird. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. So as far as swords are concerned, they are related to the mind. They are related to clarity, having sharpness, and intelligence. They are also related to justice, as I said, and fairness of all things. So if you think of swords, you might think of Archangel Michael because he has a sword and he will do battle. He will do battle for you. He will cut cords and ties and cut people and things and situations away from you that you need to get gone, basically. So if you get swords in your reading and it's kind of negative, you can call upon Archangel Michael to help you with those issues. And I didn't relate all the archangels to all the ones, just this one, but we might do that in a future episode. So as far as cups are concerned, cups are the last thing we're going to go over tonight. Cups, well, you can't mistake a cup. There is no mistaking literally a picture of a goblet or a cup. If I were to pick one word that a cup means, it's emotions. Yes. Finally, we get to the emotional thing. Yay, says the empath. There is no mistaking what a cup is, and it's usually related to matters of the heart and all feelings and emotions that you could possibly have. Now, I said that, and I just saw a bunch of little tiny lights light up in the space in my room. I don't know if those are angels or fairy folk, but hello to all of you. They all just showed up. Hi, guys. I saw a bunch of bright white lights all of a sudden. Woo! So that's pretty cool. I think they love this. It might be related to Cupid, actually. So in playing cards, cups relate to hearts. Of course they relate to hearts. Cups are emotional, and emotional are hearts. It makes so much sense, right? When you get cups in a reading, it oftentimes does relate to love. Your cup runneth over. Usually people cannot wait to see cups in a reading. It also means abundance of all kinds, but usually how you feel about the abundance and how joyous and happy you are. It shows up when you have upcoming luck, joy, happiness, positive emotions. It relates to your subconscious mind and relationships, as I said. It can also relate to the moon and your subconscious mind. It can relate also to things that are feminine, besides matters of the heart. It can also, depending on the number and relationship in the reading to the other cards, can relate to grief and sadness. It can also relate to wonderful dreams or bad dreams, depending, and matters of your actual physical heart. Intuition, how you feel, how we feel about others, and how others feel about us is all encompassed in the suit of cups. The season of cups is summer. Of course it's summer. Summer of love, time for romance. That's when love and heartstrings flow, right? It's flowing. Cups, what do you hold in a cup? You hold a liquid. And what is liquid related to? The element of water. So the season is summer, the element is water. Think of think of the movie Grease, where they're walking along the beach in the first scene, and they're saying goodbye at the end of a summer, and they're by the water. You've got the whole imagery right there in that very first scene of the original John Travolta, Olivia Newton-John movie with Grease. That very first scene where they're like, oh, I can't believe it. And the tears are flowing and they're so sad. They're not going to see each other ever again. It's the end of the summer and they have to go back to school, to high school. And that whole scene relates to cups. If you think of it that way, you got the water element, the tears are flowing, the grief, the sadness, the romance, the joy. All of those emotions are flowing. Everything is flowing. Even the waves up on the beach are flowing. That's pretty much what I think about when I think of cups. Also, the cups can also mean confusion. If you don't know what's in your subconscious mind or why it's there, you can come up with some confusion in your life, depending again on the relationship to the other cards, as well as the number of the cups. Because again, you have like one through 4. There's like 14 cards, so 1 through 10, and then you've got page, knights, king, queen and king. So confusion, lack of confidence in yourself or in life. If you're disappointed in your life, that will show up in the cups. Issues of romance or in a relationship, whether you have one or you do not. So that is pretty much it. I am not going to go into how I specifically do a reading, but this is pretty much my 4 basic things I look for. And I look for sometimes the numbers, but I just use my intuition. And if I really, really, really run into a snag, I will take out my pendulum. And when I do a reading, I will ask extra additional questions with the pendulum, because I always want to make sure and be clear on something, since any given card in the tarot can relate to up to 20 or 30 things. And then when you relate it to all the other cards, maybe that means that there's like another 20 or 30 other things it could potentially relate to, because you might get a card, romance is coming into your life, but then right in the future it shows that there's a romance that's breaking. Then you got to ask, well, who's this, and who's the one coming, who's the one breaking? Is the one who's coming going to be broken in 2 weeks? And then you have to look at things like astrology. Is it Mercury retrograde? It's coming up again, Mercury retrograde is coming up. And when that comes up, you have to kind of keep that in mind too. It's like, it's like so much information, right? That's why there's no way we could do this in one episode. I think from now on Tuesdays, we'll just do stuff about tarot until we get it all out. Because, Tuesday tarot makes sense, right? Tarot Tuesdays, woo! But Mercury retrograde, anything you start during Mercury retrograde will be broken when Mercury goes back direct in a couple weeks. It's such a bummer. Such a bummer. I keep feeling like in the next 1 to 2 weeks, I may hear from my twin flame. Now I realize Mercury retrograde, I'm like, man, he could call me, but we can't meet until Mercury goes direct. I do not want to have a false start in this. Every time I got a job right after my semester ended, my spring semester would end, and I would go and get a job, and every stinking time it would end within 3 weeks. Whether the person on maternity leave came back, or the boss didn't like me, or I didn't like somebody there, or the job only lasted a few weeks, or whatever it was. There's always some strange or crazy circumstance. Oh, one of the circumstances one year was when the company was bought out. Everyone was surprised. It was this like a big conglomerate corporate takeover, and it was a hostile takeover, and no one saw it coming. So I got hired. I was going to make really decent money. Mercury goes direct, and the next day they're cleaning out the offices, and I'm like, what? Yeah. Every time at the end of every spring term in university in California, was when, like, a week later, Mercury would go retrograde every stinking time. I mean, for like 8 years. So I was always reading my cards, like, what's going on, man? And it's like, you got to relate everything to everything, and everything relates to itself. And then you've got your own karma, you got your own Akashic records, you got the karma of the people around you. So when you do a tarot reading, it's more than just the cards. You know, you can't just, you know, and there's, I kept getting the justice card. I mean, no, the justice card, the 11. Usually that means court battles, legal issues, and it's not one of the suits, but like that, for example, and many times a reading, I'll get that card when people are going into the police academy. That's not what that card means. But I've gotten that 2 or 3 times where people, like, the first time it happened, I'm like, there's something to do with justice coming up in your life. And this lady's like, oh, I'm going to the police academy. I got accepted. The next time I got that, and I'm like, do you have any relationship to the police academy? Are you going to become a cop? And the guy was like, how did you know that? That's so weird. The cards don't even say that at all. I'm like, no, they don't. But I felt that energy that I felt when I got this other person's reading. It was the exact same feeling of a sense of justice and a sense of purpose. And I got it from the one person. I got, when she said the words police academy, I got a feeling in my solar plexus. And when I pulled that card out for another person, that same feeling. So when you read cards, sometimes you'll feel it in your body. Something for one person, and if you start doing this for a living, you start to realize that you feel that same feeling in your body. It's going to be like, aha, yeah, it's the same thing. Even though the card itself doesn't say what you just read to them. So a lot of his intuition, Kiya Sha, don't forget your Kiya Sha. It will help you a great deal with your third eye opening up. Your mind will open up and you will have a greater intuition. And apparently connection to ETs and the star grid and guys named Jeff that randomly want to telepath with you. I don't even know who he is. I saw him now. I saw his face. And he's got kind of sandy blonde hair. And I think he's maybe from Colorado or... I know he's like for the western half of the U.S. Really cool guy. So if you ever run into a Jeff in the star grid, he's like really nice. Really fun and excited about this spirituality that's... all the stuff is coming online. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode of Metaphysical Soul Speak. If you want to get in touch with me, if you have any questions, or if you would like me to do a reading for you for a short time, I'm going to open it up. It's $55. You can contact me first. Don't just send me the $55 randomly until... we discuss what that entails. What I will do for you is either a 10-card spread, which is the Celtic Cross, which is pretty much what's going on in your life right now, what's coming up in the next 3 weeks, 3 months, and 6 months. And that also includes the freebie is the pendulum reading, which I do just for a greater clarification. I will also connect with your higher guidance and ask direct questions basically of your higher self. So I get real, strong, solid readings. Also, I will forevermore for free send you free Reiki healing through the Reiki healing grid. I will connect you to that and you'll be forevermore receiving Reiki. So if you do get a cold or whatever, it'll go through your body much faster than if you weren't connected to the healing grid that is surrounding Earth right now. I was one of the light workers that helped to build that. So I will connect you to the grid, free pendulum reading, and the $55. It's like an hour-long reading. And what I'll do is I will send you a photograph of the cards that I draw, and I will send you a photograph of the notes that I took. And I will give you a verbal reading, and I'll send you a file that you can listen to. You could download it, take it with you in your iPod or your car or your cell phone, whatever. You can download it and listen to it offline. And I'm not going to put it on my show or anything, so it's going to be private. Although I did do a reading for somebody recently, and she gave me the idea to do this. So right now it's $55, and it's an hour-long reading. You're going to get a photograph of the cards and the notes, and a verbal, me telling you directly what's going on in your life. And also what your higher self, sometimes what your angels will tell you. So write me first at metaphysicalsoulspeak@gmail.com. Oh, also, if you don't want a current life reading, I also do 3 questions, and you get 3 cards per question, and you have a bonus question in there. So should I do this? And then if not, should I do this? So you could do like a piggyback question to one of your questions. Does that make sense? Anyway, if you guys are interested, let me know. And if not, we will keep going every Tuesday for Tarot Tuesdays until I've told you guys everything I know about tarot. All right, I love you guys. I hope that you had a good time with me today. I'll be back tomorrow, I think, for Weird News Wednesday. I think we've had enough weird news where we've gathered up the crazy stories, and we're going to talk about them tomorrow. All right, that's all I've got to say about that. Signing off with peace and love and joy and the high vibes of the holy 5th dimension. Till next time, guys. Peace. Metaphysical Soul Speak is run on sponsors and listener support. This means listeners like you. If you are so inclined to support my efforts and my little podcast, please visit me at anchor.fm/metaphysical and pledge an amount of your choosing today. Thank you.